Hello, dears, how are you? We, the humans, we are interdependent, depending on each other's, and maybe without that, or call it a cooperation with each other, seeking help and support from each other, that is something which is quite an unavoidable element of our life. But since everything have a limit, but once a limit is crossed and somebody is totally or in an unreasonably manner dependent upon another, that is called codependency. Either depending upon the partner or somebody who is either ill or addicted to something. Codependency is a pattern of behavior in which one person enables or support and often sacrifices their own needs, enabling or supporting somebody in a way that they have to sacrifice their own needs and have to sacrifice their own well being for the benefit of another person, often to the point of harming oneself. And this is quite quite a bad situation that is become so important in the field of the mental health that it is being taken as one of the major troubles in the life of many people. Today we have made it a topic of our discussion and we will look upon it from different angles. We will talk about its characteristics, its signs, which are 10, and then we will speak about the types of codependencies, the type of codependency. We need to discuss its causes and, of course, its effects upon our life. And finally, it is the recovery, which is essential. And we will give certain very important ways, strategies, and tips to get oneself recovered from it. So let's begin with the characteristics of codependency. The first characteristic of it is excessive emotional reliance on another person. Excessive emotional reliance on another person. The second characteristic is enabling or supporting destructive behavior. Enabling or supporting a destructive behavior. The third characteristic of the codependency is loss of personal boundaries and autonomy. Loss of personal boundaries and autonomy. Boundaries are very important indeed. Everybody have a right to get into a life up to an extent and not beyond that at all, because from there our boundaries begin. Autonomy or the freedom, that is something like one of the extremely important elements in the life of a human. Loss of personal boundaries are autonomy. The fourth characteristic of the codependency is that is constant need for reassurance and approval of another person. The fifth sign of the codependency is fear of abandonment or fear of rejection. Fear of abandonment or fear of rejection by somebody. And the sixth characteristic of the codependency is difficulty setting and maintaining healthy boundaries. Mean you don't have any boundary. You don't have the right to set the boundaries. Actually, it is the right of every individual to set and enforce the healthy boundaries. The seventh characteristic of the codependency is tendency to people please or seek validation. Seeking validation from somebody all the time upon every unimportant even or the important things, and people pleasing. Pleasing somebody all the time. So now the ninth characteristic of the codependency is feeling trapped or stuck in a relationship. Feeling trapped or stuck in a relationship. The tenth and the last characteristic of the codependency is neglecting own needs and desires. Neglecting one's own needs or desires. So these are the 10 characteristics of codependency. Moving to the next step of the subject, we are going to talk about the types of codependency. There are four types of it. Number one, it is emotional codependency. Emotional mean you can't take any decision without the approval of somebody, or that you feel very unhappy if at all they don't approve you for something. Now the second is the financial codependency and enabling financial support, that is the financial codependency. The third type of the codependency is physical codependency, physical sport or physical enabling. Now the fourth type of codependency is spiritual codependency, and it is spiritual or philosophical codependency. So these are the four types of codependencies: emotional, financial, physical, and spiritual or philosophical. Moving to the next step of our today's talk, and that is the causes of codependencies. So there are six important causes of codependency. Number one, it is childhood trauma or abuse, that somebody was abused during their childhood, or they have suffered a trauma or a tragedy during their childhood. The second cause of the codependency is that it is the fear of abandonment or rejection. Fear of abandonment and the fear of rejection by somebody. And the third and the third cause of the codependency is the low self-esteem or low self-worth. In your own eyes you are nothing, you are totally unimportant, so that is called low self-esteem or low self-worth. Now, the fourth type of the fourth cause, the fourth possible cause of the codependency is lack of healthy role models. Lack of healthy role models. Now, the fifth possible cause of this codependency is that cultural or societal expectations. Cultural or societal expectation. Your culture, your society is demanding that sort of rule, that sort of codependency. on someone else. Now, the sixth possible cause of this codependency is mental health conditions. Sometimes a person is not mentally healthy at all. So, for that reason, like this person is suffering from anxiety or depression. So, that is another the six causes of this codependency. Moving to the next step, there are certain effects of the codependency, and these are seven in number. Seven effects of codependency on our life, how it is negatively how it is negatively affecting our life. Let's look upon the seven reasons, the seven effects. Number one, it is loss of personal identity or autonomy. Loss of personal identity, loss of personal autonomy. Indeed, it is a bigger loss. And then the second is emotional exhaustion or burnout. Again, a bigger loss, not smaller at all. Emotional exhaustion or the burnout. The third negative impact of the codependency upon our life is strained relationships with others. Strained relationships with others. Now, the fourth effect, negative effect of the codependency on our lives is increased stress and anxiety. Increased stress and increased anxiety. Now, the fifth, negative effect of codependency on our life is decreased self-esteem and decreased self-confidence. Decreased self-esteem and decreased self-confidence. That is the fifth negative effect of codependency on our lives. The sixth is physical health problems. The physical health problems will definitely arise and it is unavoidable. Now, the seventh type of the negative effect of the codependency upon our lives, it is the difficulty setting boundaries. I think that if at all we are codependent upon somebody, somebody is codependent upon us, the cost is very, very heavy indeed. Now, moving to the final step of our today's talk, and it is recovery. How can we get ourselves recovered from all that, from such a trouble, from such a difficult, complicated, traumatic, such a chaotic situation in our life that is nothing less than the spoiling of our life. So let's talk about the recovery of it. There are seven important ways to get ourselves recovered from all that. The number one, it is seek professional help. Yes, never hesitate to seek the professional help. Obviously, it will be available on the payment. Go to a reputed psychologist and a psychiatrist. Ask, seek their advice, seek their help. The second way to get the recovery, it is the set healthy boundaries and prioritizing self-care. Setting of healthy boundaries, there are certain rules and regulations, very important indeed, and I won't allow anybody to overstep or to violate my boundaries. My boundaries, I mean business, and I mean it. And while doing all that, it mean that self care. I will be taking care of myself. I won't allow anybody at all to violate or to overstep the boundaries. Now, I do have to take self care. I have for to me, my self care is more important. It is of prime importance. Now, the third way to get myself recovered from all that, it is develop self awareness and self esteem. Develop, develop self awareness. I need to be better aware about myself, my life, what are my weaknesses, what are my strengths, what are my emotions, what are my needs. So, all that I need to talk about, what are my values. I need to be well aware about myself, self awareness on the one hand, and self esteem on the other hand. Self esteem says, I am really important. Nobody is unimportant. I am very important. I am very worthy. I have every right to take care of myself. I have every right to be respected by the people. Now, The fourth way to recover our life from all that, it is learn to say no and set limits. Setting of the limits and learning to say no. Everything else should not be responded by saying yes at all. And I don't say that I won't be silent and you will consider it as yes, not at all. Wherever there is a need to say no, I will stand up for myself, and I have learned to say no, and I have learned to set the limits as well. So that is another way to get myself recovered from all that. Now, the fifth way is that practice assertiveness and communication skills. Practice assertiveness. Assert your rights. Assert your own autonomy. Don't compromise on all that. Take stand. Yes, it is my right, and I have to take care of myself. It is practice assertiveness and develop communication skills. Develop, be a very good communicator. All of that will happen bit by bit. It cannot be done suddenly, and that is now, the sixth way to recover my life, your life, that is join a sport group or online resources. Joining a sport group and joining the online resources. Now, the seventh and the last way to get myself, yourself recovered, and that is focus on personal growth and focus on personal development. Focusing on the personal growth. I want to grow as a person. I want to develop as a person. I am the most important asset of myself. Nobody is as important to me as me myself. Nothing is as important to me as me myself. I have to grow personally. I have to develop personally. So that is, I think, very important topic indeed, because there are people who don't know, but their life has been spoiled because of this codependency. We talked about the technical definition of it. We spoke about the characteristics of it, the signs of it, which are actually 10 in number. Then, in the next step, we spoke about the types of codependency, which are 4 in number. And then, still next, we talked about the causes of codependency, which are 6 in number. And then we spoke about its effects upon our life, very bad, very negative effects upon our life. These are 7 in number. Lastly, we talked about how to get ourselves recovered from a situation like this one, if at all unfortunately we find ourselves in this like situation. And then please remember that recovery from codependency requires patience. It requires patience, it requires self awareness, and of course, it requires sport as well. But it is quite possible, and it must be done so that we are able to better live our life, enjoy our life. We have every right to claim the autonomy and the independence, and to learn to say no and to set the healthy boundaries. So, that is all from me today. Thank you very much.